Activate.
All right, everybody. Hey, it's Kelly Reverb. Welcome to this Pink Cloud. Let's get the air horn going. Yay. We are sans Chad today because of road conditions, a.k.a. Chad is a pussy. Anyway, I love to flame him out while he's not here, but I would do the same thing to him if he was here. But anyway, we're a show that is on multiple pathways to recovery, mental health, all that good stuff. I am excited to have one of my friends here, one of my good friends, I would consider. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Reid Robinson.
Kelly, thanks for having me today. It's a beautiful sunny day out. We're going to keep it evergreen, but I'm glad to be here. And so he couldn't show up even though it got sunny out.
Yeah, so here it is. It's like he was afraid of the black ice and everything. And I mean, look, I get it. It's a nice commute from McKinney to here.
Sure.
But, you know, I saw 37 minutes on the map. And, you know, it is what it is. You know, we film 3 episodes whenever we shoot and then air them contiguously. And, you know, it is what it is. He didn't have it in him, and we all feel sorry for Widow Chad.
Well, that's your next project, Black Ice.
Black Ice. But yeah, dude, I'm excited to have you on. You have started, you've been running a store in Richardson called Beyond the Bar Bottle Shop, correct?
Correct. Beyond the Bar alcohol-free bottle shop. We have alcohol-free in there now, or AF, however you want to phrase it, but we have been there now for, I think we're pushing a year and a half.
Right,
it's crazy.
Well, and I'm glad that it's open because, I mean, it's, you know, it's a new business, and new businesses are hard to start. Sure. But I think you're also one of the few, if only, alcohol-free bottle shop in the DFW area.
Yeah, we're definitely the first, and you know, we kind of consider ourselves a bottle shop, but we're also a third space. So you know, we do events there. We have activities. We work with the Phoenix, which is a recovery group. We have lots of fun things happening in the shop. Art shows, gallery events, sober karaoke.
So, well, let's definitely get into that. Yeah. But let's go with a little bit of the backstory. You know, there was an episode, I guess, God, it was probably when y'all were first launching your store that we first talked. Yeah. And then the doors have opened and are thriving. But let's get a little bit of the backstory and the reason why you wanted to start it.
Well, as I began my career in the business of music and arts and otherwise, you know, like DJ careers, arts, all of that. I was working in the bar.
I'm going to do this so they can see your beautiful face.
Yeah. Well, I really don't want to see that. So, yeah, 25 years ago, we worked in this alcohol-soaked industry.
Right.
You know, the music, arts, all of it. And that's what we grew up with. The alcohol industrial complex as it was, as it is now.
The alcohol industrial complex, much like the military industrial complex.
Exactly.
But that's a different show.
They had a grasp on this part of the world, the rock and roll world, the DJ world, the arts world for a long time. So that was just part of what we did. We drank.
Right.
We went to work and we drank.
Right.
And when you had sponsors for an event, they were alcohol sponsors.
Right.
So all of it was around us all of the time. You know, I resisted for a long time. I didn't really begin to drink a lot or more than too much until I was actually in my early 30s, believe it or not.
Right.
You know, just doing gigs, doing events, you know, it became a lot easier. Well, this makes it easier. And I'm going to partake and participate.
It is a fantastic time traveling device.
Right.
You know, especially like if you're out DJing and, you know, the crowd's not really into it and you're doing the background music or whatever, you know, hey, it helps pass the time fantastically.
It does. So it was a time passer. And also working in bands, you know, other members of the band, they would also drink, and that's what we did. So it was a communal effort.
Right.
So that went on. It really didn't become a problem until I was in my early mid-30s. Then I got into the bar and restaurant business. We had we opened a place in 2018. We actually bought a dive bar called The Forum in Richardson, and opened a craft cocktail lounge next to it called Brizo.
Okay.
This was actually, we opened Brizo right, you know, 6 weeks before the pandemic. So that, I'm jumping around here a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was the genesis of probably where I really started to drink a lot.
Yeah. Well, and then you also, like myself, you also, you know, dealt with the loss of your mother. And I don't know if that was during your drinking career or after.
Yeah.
But
it was during and kind of the end of the career.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, we opened Brizo. It shut down in March 15th of 21 because of the pandemic.
Right.
And what do you do when you have a bar full of like nice spirits?
Right.
There's no customers in there.
Right. Yeah.
And you have a staff full of people you're trying to take care of, including yourself. And there's there's lots of stuff in there. So we started to go into the bar and we would drink.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people did. I know you'd already ended your career at that point, which is
I mean, for me, what had happened, and it sounds kind of similar to your story, but my story was, you know, basically a gradual intake. You know, and my story started, you know, when I had my first panic attack. I mean, I was drinking already, but then, you know, it was when I was in actually Mr. Rogers' neighborhood in Pittsburgh, the airport, and I was like, oh, I'm having a heart attack.
Right.
Literally. And then, you know, that's back when I was flying first class and stuff. And so alcohol was flowing at whatever time my flight was, 10 a.m. And so then I had a drink and that went away. The panic went away. So, you know, of course, you throw a couple more at it and you're feeling great.
Sure.
So then for me, that was a learned behavior. So anytime I, you know, felt anxiety, which was all the fucking time, I would have my little baby bottle, you know, around that was not water, but it was vodka, and that traveled well, you know.
You know, and it's interesting as you get into that habit and that career of drinking like that, the effects though afterwards, the anxiety comes back.
Oh yeah,
so much worse.
Right.
You know, after, you know, I know this Pink Cloud is the name of the program, but you kind of get that Pink Cloud period in that buzz.
Oh yeah.
But when that goes away, that anxiety comes back.
Oh yeah, tenfold. Like, I mean, 100%. Like, and people had told me that, like, oh, you know, drinking actually, you know, makes your anxiety worse.
Yeah.
And it's the same with weed and all that stuff.
Sure.
But they, you know, I had been told that it did, and I was like, well, it's the only thing that stops it from happening too. So it's like the temporary solution is the problem, you know?
Yeah, that serotonin is all gone when you need it the most.
Yeah.
So the next morning or whenever you're waking up.
Yeah, so it was definitely, you know, but then you get on that, okay, cool, I drink so I can mask my anxiety.
Right.
But then you can only navigate that for so long before it's like, you know, it literally took me from 25. I mean, I had a fantastic drinking career, and it wasn't all bad. I'm not here to preach and tell people, but I'm just here to as a cautionary tale. And if I can save somebody the headache, listen to people when they say that alcohol, you know, will give you anxiety.
Yes.
You know?
And if you already have it, it's going to just make it worse.
Yeah.
So that kind of went on for a while. And then my mom passed away. She passed away, and I guess it would have been May of 21.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, still kind of like back from the whole COVID thing. We had a bar that was reopened at that point.
Right.
But things were never the same. And I had already been drinking much more than I should have for that last year and a half, especially. And it was manifesting itself in ways like health ways, you know, and you know, stomach, digestion, all kinds of things were starting to like kind of change. And that's part of that's getting older.
Right.
But you amplify everything by tenfold with alcohol.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, and other substances too. But I really, at that point, it was just alcohol for me anyway.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where I had to quit. You know, it was for family relationships, for business, for my own, mostly, and mainly I think for my mental health.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of like, it became a mental health issue. And I think people talk about the addiction side of the alcohol cycle, but it's also, for me, it was really about the mental health. And going through therapy afterwards, I kind of started to figure that out. Oh, this was an anxiety issue in a lot of ways.
Sure. Well, and a lot of people, like, you know, they don't really talk about, you know, that side of it. And what I always try to, you know, point out and put a spotlight on is the reason behind whatever substance you're using is generally to mask something you don't want to feel, AKA anxiety, or if you have, you know, a lot of people have, you know, PTSD and stuff like that, and they don't realize why they're using, what they're running away from, and why they're running away from it, you know? And it sounds like you with therapy kind of did the math, or it helped you.
Yeah, it uncovered a lot of things that I didn't really know about myself. The hard therapy. I did over 100 hours of like good hardcore therapy. Actually went to IOP and you know, outpatient therapy, and kind of got to the root of a lot of issues. Right. And I talk to people about this all the time, which was, you know, I could say probably 5 years ago, I would have never spoken about, you know, man, therapy's great for me. It could be good for you. I never thought that would be something I would be saying.
You never thought you would be an advocate for
it, you know, and there's a kind of this masculine thing as well that kind of comes with this. You know, that whole John Wayne.
Just rub some dirt on it and eat a steak.
I mean, we should have been listening to, you know, Richard Pryor, you know, 35 years ago, but.
Well.
He's not around to tell us. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, so it became an issue. So in August of 21, I made a decision, and with some help, I quit. Yeah, I quit drinking, and it was never. So for me, it was more of I'd go days without drinking. So I wasn't a daily drinker, but when I did.
Yeah. So you were more of a binge guy.
A binge guy. Yeah. Which in a lot of ways that has harder health effects on your organs, and on your kidneys, on your brain health. Sure. And a lot, you know, even in that 2 glass a day kind of thing. Yeah. From what I hear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, would you say because I mean, a lot of people are, you know, AA, that's the only way. And like I say, you know, if it works for you, do it. You know, if standing in the corner for 15 minutes a day, you know, helps you, then do it, you know, as long as you're not harming someone else. But, you know, I think, you know, what you said is spot on.
Yeah. Know? I mean, personal intervention, family helping, and also like just therapy. That was my pathway. I did do a little A at first, and I appreciate it for what it does very much, but it wasn't really speaking to my personal needs.
Right. And for me as well, like, I mean, I went, but it's good, because it's everywhere. You know, it's really, really an accessible program. And I think the thing that I do, you know, sing the praises for is it's designed to help you deal with your shit, deal with your trauma. Absolutely. Because all the steps are set up to, hey, you need to talk to somebody and get this shit out.
Right. And I feel like I feel like a lot of programming is going to be updated. It feels like they're trying to update as an organization.
Right.
Even, 4+ years ago when I attended a few meetings, several meetings actually, it felt like they were trying to get into the 21st century.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So no malice. I love what they do.
Yeah.
But there are other avenues. And part of my avenue is just changing my social construct.
Right. And you were, I know, that being in the business, and especially the restaurant bar business,
right,
you kind of become a connoisseur. And I remember you saying this from your last episode. Mm-hmm. It was like you were at Brian Ferry concert?
Yeah, I was at a Brian Ferry Roxy Music Show.
Yeah.
And that would have been 21. And this was probably, I think it was the end of 21, probably September, maybe a month or two after I had discontinued my habit, drinking. And I was with friends. Everybody was having these fantastic cocktails. We all everybody pre-showed it. I can't remember the name of the venue up the street from the American Airlines Center.
Right.
They were all pre-showing, and I actually did find a zero proof. I think at that place they might have had something. It was a sparkling water and and juice.
Right.
It was nice to have it. They put it in a nice glass. But then I got to the venue, and everybody else was continuing having their nice cocktails, a good beer or whatever.
Right.
And they had a Pepsi there. So
I've
told this story before, but that made me really see something going, this has got to change.
Sure.
And why am I a grown man at a Roxy Music Show, having a Pepsi?
Right.
Which makes me think of the old, what's the Pepsi song?
The
Suicidal Tendencies.
Yeah, my mom, institutionalized.
Yeah.
All I wanted was a Pepsi, but my mom wouldn't give it to me.
So my mom gave it to me. The venue gave it to me, and I didn't want it. So that was kind of a genesis for my personal self. And, at that point, Julie and I, my wife, and our friends Andrea and Jenny, we met them. She had a blog on for a little bit. Mm-hmm. We had started kind of exploring the world of alcohol-free cocktails, beers, wines, and all of the spirits. These adult beverages that have nice flavors and are complex cocktails and elixirs that are, made for grown-ups.
Sure.
Because I didn't want to have, I didn't want to drink out of juice boxes. And I still love a good drink. I just don't want alcohol in it. Right.
Yeah. And I think also, inbred, in you, is also a part of, where you're a connoisseur of finer things and of experiencing different taste and stuff like that. And then, it seemed like there was a lack of that out there, and you kind of wanted to fill that void.
Yeah, and so that was where we kind of started. That would have been in 21. So and in fact, even at our old bar, we introduced a zero proof beer there. Mm-hmm. And it started to kind of trend. I noticed that, sales were they were going up. People were starting to I can't remember what it might have been. I think it was just a Bud Zero, something.
Right.
Swill. But
yeah, sure.
Nonetheless, it was an option. It was nice to have it. And I liked having it.
Right.
And that's an interesting part of that too, is that I remember being there many times. And I would actually do this old Dean Martin trick where I would have a glass on the rocks with a little bit of water and a little bit of soda in there. So it looked kind of
with a lime. With a lime.
Yeah. It had a nice little tan thing. And really the reason for that was, A, to have something in my hand, but it also keeps people away from you.
Yeah. Have another drink. Have another drink. Have another shot.
Or why aren't you drinking?
Yeah.
Which became beyond an annoyance, You don't want to explain yourself to everyone.
Sure.
Which, and that's honestly, that's been, that was, 3 and 4 years ago. Almost.
Right.
But things have changed now that question even isn't, partly because I'm not in that world as much, but and most people that know me know that this is not, I don't drink. So but if they don't, I don't hear that question anymore. Right. Things have changed a lot in the last 3 or 4 years in recovery and sobriety and the options in the alcohol-free world. It's been...
Yeah, so let's get into that. I mean, because there's people that are, Well, actually, I think even maybe alcoholic brands aren't they doing spinoffs as well?
They're doing spinoffs. Definitely some of the bigger
because they don't want to lose that money.
Well, they're losing market share.
Yeah.
Gen Z, as they are called.
Yeah.
The kids.
Yeah.
They're not going to be where we were.
Right.
It's not inbred into their system. I mean, we grew up
in their culture.
In their culture. I mean, growing up in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, that was all part of
you got to fight for your right to party.
It was part of it, and that was the thing you did. That was your goal in life. But I think now that there's an awareness of mental health, addiction, drinking, and things that we didn't have around us because it was glamorized, it was fun, and you don't really see that in film and television as much anymore.
Right? Yeah,
like that.
They don't show in the beer or whatever commercial it might be. It's somebody living life to their fullest. They don't show the guy, sneaking a shot of vodka to cope.
With the shakes. And I think you said it to me over the phone the other day. We were talking about they don't show the hangover in the commercial.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah.
That's your quote. So.
Yeah, well, feel free to use it.
It's true. They don't show that part. And that's where, there I go. What were we talking about?
Yeah. Well, no, we were talking about, about alcohol and like how it's glamorized.
Right.
And, So
it's been glamorized. They've done a great job of it. But now Generation Z, going back to that, they really don't want to be like their parents.
Sure.
They see that as the old way. And also there are other alternatives out there. But they also get a lot of serotonin and highs from their, unfortunately from social media and being entrenched online a lot of times.
Yeah, sure.
But the same triggers that we had are not there for them.
Right.
And I think the industry itself is getting ready to go into a free fall. The alcohol industrial complex, I'll say that.
Yeah, I like that.
Is going to go into a free fall because of this. Because as Gen X stops drinking because of health reasons and mental health, and also becoming aware of themselves, the boomers are they're getting they're cutting back.
Yeah,
they're also passing away.
Sure.
And then the silent generation, I don't.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like,
let's not forget the millennials too. Millennials are aware of this as well.
Yeah. And I think honestly, what, like shows like this, like this wasn't around a few years ago. There weren't people talking about it. And it was just the only option. Like people weren't as aware of mental health, I don't think, especially when I was growing up, I had heard of therapy and, it had been suggested, as far as, like when my parents got separated or something like that. But it wasn't like, hey, make sure you're processing, whatever trauma or dealing with whatever you might be suffering from, like in our case, anxiety.
Sure. And it's definitely, there's organizations like the Phoenix, which do sober activities.
Right.
We have Foundation 45, which helps with mental health awareness for, I'm talking speaking locally to Dallas.
Yeah.
That are, have, mental health services for, artists.
Right.
Musicians. And then there's Artists and Musicians in Recovery, which is another local organization. So there's a lot of avenues now for people, definitely in the industry.
Right.
The restaurant, even Ben's friends for the bar industry, which is kind of like an advocacy.
Well, and our good friend Dusty Burrows, who has So Bar Basics, which y'all can check out, and that's a great support community on Facebook.
Absolutely. Yeah. So these places are here now, and this was, 5 years ago that mechanism wasn't there. So even as we've become established in the Metroplex, we've become a place for people to come and enjoy their lives.
Right. Well, and the thing that I love about your spot is that y'all are doing events and all kinds of fun stuff, but also that it is an alcohol-free bar, because some people, I mean, I liked it. I mean, I enjoyed going to bar and hanging out with people. You know, now it's more of a, like when I go out to an event, it's like yeah, I've been there, you know, kind of thing.
Right.
But you know, I love it that y'all offer that to the community.
Yeah, it's been a really fun year and a half. We've got to work with a lot of interesting organizations, and kind of really, like, I think what we're doing is we're normalizing this industry. We're normalizing the fact that it's cool. It's actually cool not to drink anymore.
Right.
It's you know, I got to, being, you know, with dry January around the corner and happening amongst us right now.
Yeah.
It actually becomes the whole month of celebrating, you know, sobriety and changing your attitudes towards alcohol and possibly other substances.
I mean, and the thing is now, like, you know, if I see somebody struggling, you know, I will not so much in their face, you know, but I will just say, hey, you know, alcohol actually causes anxiety, and if you're trying to get away from anxiety, that's not going to be the answer, you know. And I mean, you know, I did honestly, dude, I had a huge fear of doing this, you know, like, and I would have to be heavily lubricated in order to do this. And what I have found, epiphany, if you will, is that over time of putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, aka speaking in front of people, aka recording yourself, you get more comfortable with it and you get over it. And I think it's important to challenge yourself. You know, like for me, example, I have to play in front of sometimes hundreds of thousands of people. And I'm so used to, you know, having a little grandpa's cough medicine, and to switch that, you know, is a tough thing to do. But I just like to challenge myself and lean into the discomfort, and just go, hey, it's part of life and it's part of living, and it's learning how to cope without substance, you know?
It does, and it becomes more comfortable and it becomes easier. And honestly, then once you get past that, I guess that you almost get a runner's high. You know, after this newfound clarity gives you,
I can do this shit.
You can do this stuff. You can do this shit. And you get that other kind of buzz.
Right.
That natural, that serotonin thing. Like, I'm doing this, I'm creating, like, you know. And again, you know, you have plenty of stuff I see over there to drink. You have fluids and liquids and all kinds of.
Well, it's funny because, and I'll show it. But here, let me actually switch to me. Yeah. But yeah, I actually, I mean, one of my go-tos was the vodka bottle or the water bottle with vodka in the freezer. So that was one of my go-tos. Yeah. So you know how you carve those neural pathways, and I learned this when I went to rehab, is that you carve those neural pathways. So I was just like, well, I'm just going to lean into it with, which is Mio.
Right.
And so now I'm always highly caffeinated, you know.
How much caffeine is a Mio?
I don't know. I don't do the math. I just, you know, when my eye starts to twitch is when I stop.
So, and we're going to cut out here in a minute for a break, right?
Yeah.
But have you noticed that you're more sensitive to caffeine and things of that nature, caffeine and sugar, now that you've cut alcohol out of your life?
I mean, you can just feel more.
Right, you do. And so I enjoy my cup of coffee a lot more, which is so cool, you know? My morning cup is like, it really has power now. And you know?
Not like it was just part of the routine, overshadowed by all the alcohol. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, let's throw to commercial real quick. Actually, little Sheila, Chad's mom, has a book out called 2 Calls, and here it is.
Imagine getting that phone call as a parent that your son has been hit by a car and is being life flighted.
2 hours before we got the call, Chad had called me to tell me it was the best day of his life. And then I get another call, and a stranger had found him, and they were care flighting him to a trauma unit, and that he would start praying for our family that we needed to hurry.
You know, when you wake up on the operating table and they're like, we're going to cut off both your legs. And then I wake up and then one's gone, the other one's in an external rod system. It's just not good. The real kicker is that I've had like all of these scars all over my arms, and that's all from complications resulting from drug abuse.
I never thought about giving up on him. Never. This is my son, and I know he's going to be okay. You cannot just have help for the addict. You have to seek out professional help. The whole family has been affected.
And I just want to make that very clear to anybody who's out there listening, that if I can do this thing as much as I've been through, man, there's a lot of wiggle room for people before they get to that point where they can do it too.
All right. And that book is actually called Two Calls. If you go to twocalls.org, that will take you to their website, and you can actually get a hold of Chad or his mom, and they do speaking engagements. Book is available everywhere online, all that good stuff. And then also we have some new music, and here it is.
Focus yourself.
All right, and that is the new music that we have streaming right now. So if you go to Spotify, go to This Is Kelly Reverb. You can follow that playlist. I keep that updated. You can follow my profile. You'll get notifications. Also, Apple Music, streaming everywhere, just like this podcast, which we encourage you to follow, like, comment, and all that stuff, because it helps us get the word out. And that's really what it's all about, right?
That's what it's about. So
Yeah.
can I interview you for a minute?
Yeah, of course.
So
dude.
with the music career,
Yes.
you know, which has been long and wonderful.
Yeah.
So the production side has grown. How has that changed for you? Your production values, the way you hear things, the way you produce and work with other artists when you're creating a new track, now that you are in a place of sobriety and recovery.
Right. Okay. Fun question.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, which I would say the 90s is when I started, it was all analog. So everything was outboard gear, run into your Atari or whatever, and you're using, you're finding samples. You're having to dig
Sure.
deep for those samples. Whereas nowadays they have a thing called Splice. There's a myriad of different spots where you can get samples. So I can be writing a song, and instead of digging through 3,000 pieces of vinyl to hopefully find something that fits,
Sure.
I can literally go, okay, I need Latin vocal in A minor, and here's 300 choices. So that part went away, and that to me, that and also physically crafting noises, which we still do.
Sure.
But that has really like taken, from what, took 3 weeks to 6 weeks to maybe I could do the bulk of a song in a 6-hour session,
So the clarity of being in a good place
Right.
has helped you produce more.
Well, okay,
effectively.
so technology has,
Yeah.
but the clarity has, as far as not drinking goes, is I don't have a hangover.
Right.
So now it's like, okay, well, what do I do? And then it's like, well, what do I love?
What do I love?
What do I love? And that's the thing, you know. I'm always, and you are too, is I'm always a big proponent of build your own dream instead of somebody else's, you know.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to be miserable on this ride called life, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting talking to you as an artist, and then you hear from people, you know, even like David Bowie, he got sober, like
Right.
And he was very clear about it. He said that if I would have kept drinking, it would have killed me,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
Yeah.
And then you look at gosh, so there are a lot of artists that have. It's really when you start looking at it, you see like sobriety in music in the arts world is happening in a very big way.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, it was, dude. Well, I mean, the majority of the 27 club, the people that died at 27, is really, I mean, it still happens, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it's not as commonplace, like Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, and Jimi Hendrix.
Sure.
Like all that at once, but there was there was AA, but it wasn't as commonplace. And it was just like, there was no recovery / mental health really that existed back then.
Right.
But and I love to create. So, the sobriety gives me the time. Because honestly, man, my drinking became a full-time job, and it was you've got to procure the alcohol, and you got to go to different stores because you don't want them to think that you're an alcoholic at that store, even though every person by name at each store. You just don't want to present that way, right? And then of course, my wife, I don't want her to know how much I'm consuming, so then I've got to recycle the bottles somehow. So I start putting them down the neighbor's house, all that stuff. And it really, and where am I going to hide it? It's Sunday in Texas. I got to have enough to last me till Monday till I can get back there.
Right.
So it was just insanity that took over, and not by choice at all. It was just a real gradual thing that happened and that can happen. And that's basically why I'm here to say, hey, dude, it's okay.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see, I've said this before, but the change in attitude, it's happening right now. It's happening in all age groups, all across all sectors. It's interesting to even see the relationship with, we've actually had a lot of customers who are Muslim, and they don't drink by, they have different reasons.
Right, way of life.
A way of life,
and
and to be influenced and to feel that is really fantastic. And to be, and actually we have customers that have never had a drink, and they've come in and they enjoy some of the things we do at the shop.
Right. Because I think a lot of that and trying different stuff is fun.
Right.
It's interesting and it's fun to explore.
So as it goes, we've been open for over 18 months. Business continues to grow.
Right.
We're surviving. It's a tough market out there, on any front, but moving into 2025, I feel like, we're in the right place, and especially with what's going on in the world around us, I think having a place of calm and being able to have options that are not, because back in the day when things got a little hairy out there, bars typically did a lot. They did well or they did better, even in times of Great Depressions and recessions and all that.
Sure.
You look at the numbers in the bar business, and they generally are pretty even. The alcohol industry is pretty even keeled as far as sales, and a lot of times they actually go up.
Right.
So I think it's interesting now that we're in tough times. I mean, it's always been tough times, but I think the next we're in challenging times.
Right.
Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, sure.
That having options now is going to be more important than ever.
Right.
And having spaces that are safe and unique and offer alternatives to the usual.
Yeah. Well, for sure. So like what can I know you have a bunch of events coming up and past events that have happened, but walk someone through that hasn't been to your spot yet. What it's like, and then what events you have.
So my wife Julie, she teaches Cocktail 101, Cocktail AF 101. Mocktails.
Yeah.
I don't use that word too much before, because a lot of these elixirs and are crafted. They're not really a mockery. And I get the word, and I have no problem with. I mean, it's a good catch-all, and I appreciate the word, but we generally don't use it too much. But with Cocktail 101, alcohol-free and zero-proof Cocktail 101, we teach a class where we teach people how to work with alcohol-free options and create these nice drinks and cocktails for themselves.
Right.
So we do in-class events.
Right, and if people just want to come in, also they can just hang out.
Yeah, hang out. Right?
Absolutely. It's like you said, a good, safe space.
It's a good, safe space. There's not anything that's going to get you in trouble. Or I guess everybody can. Yeah.
Right.
I want to say something too about the alcohol-free part. If there's something that you feel like is a trigger for you in your relationship with alcohol, then we're very clear about that. Then there's a lot of things out there that don't try to mimic a traditional spirit or cocktail. Sure. And that's maybe a place where you should sit for a while, and maybe forever. It's not really up to me to say that, but, we are pretty clear about that. And, but getting back to the classes. So those have been a big hit. So people like to come in and learn how to work with alcohol-free spirits, cocktails, and create their own kind of drinks at home.
Right.
So, that's been a fun thing. We also do sober karaoke or sober okie, which is a lot of fun. It's a way to sing a song, and that's kind of raw dogging it.
Yeah, well, for sure. Yeah, I mean that's getting up in front of a crowd and dealing with that anxiety and leaning into discomfort.
And it becomes more comfortable and more fun. And I can tell you this though, the musicians in the songs. And the singing, it's generally a lot better,
right?
Because people think they're bold and great, I've had a few, but generally not. So that's been fun. We do that on the last Saturday of the month, and that's in association with the Phoenix.
Okay. Well, let's give the Phoenix a shout out real quick.
The Phoenix, they're an app which are about recovery events.
Right.
They also do a lot of activity events.
Right, and they're actually nationwide. So they're basically a sober free activity / everything, and they also do different things I guess fun stuff.
They like rock climbing and yoga, and they do and hikes and all kinds of stuff,
and tame stuff too, probably like a puzzle night.
Yeah, they have puzzle nights and crafting, and stuff like that. And really, all they ask, they do ask that you're sober for 48 hours.
Yeah.
And
they don't preach at you and tell you, hey, this is how you get sober. It's nothing like that. It's just a community of sober people.
And you're talking about those new pathways that you're building. This helps you create those new pathways that by doing activities you might have done in other states of mind.
Right.
So you're learning how to relearning how to interact and do things.
Sure.
So
and be a person.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've also been working with Alamo Draft House. So we did the 40-year-old Virgin. Obviously with the Virgin drinks.
Right, I get the double entendre.
That was a blast, and then a screening of The Hangover. So we're gonna have
you've had that, and by the time this airs, it will have happened. And it will have been a huge success.
It will be a huge success. Exactly. So that's really fun. It's fun to kind of because we're playful. We're playful about this place where we're at right now.
Right.
And also, I mean, as a lot of our customers, I think they're calling it this year. They're calling it zebra striping.
Okay.
Have a cocktail and don't for a while. Drink less. So a lot of our customers actually do still imbibe every once in a while.
Well, it's funny because
Yeah.
like nowadays it's like there's dry January now, and then there's sober October, and I'm like, there's all these things kind of like what you were saying that are trending and happening.
Dry
now
July.
That right.
Yeah.
That are happening that used to be like non-existent.
Yeah, and it's happening on campuses. It's happening in workplaces where people used to have their big work parties, their holiday parties. We saw that over the holidays where that was kind of, we actually did quite a few parties for some pretty large organizations. I won't name them, but, in the real estate and the insurance and all kinds of business, they don't want to have alcohol in their organization anymore. For one thing, it's a liability.
Oh, 100%. I remember when I had a brief day job for a while and I was working in corporate that it was like, okay, here you get 3 tickets. That's it.
Yeah.
So it is a liability.
It's a liability. I think in the real estate business, in law business, there's drinking problems in all sectors.
Oh, 100%. I mean, a guy that we have on the show quite often, Brian Cuban, aka
absolutely.
Mark Cuban's brother, would tell us, stories of his usage, while he's, practicing law, so
Right.
It's like,
So there's a changing attitude, but yeah, we do fun things, and it can be, like I said, from movie premieres to showcases to Soberoki to like art shows.
Right.
But,
and then so like as far as explain your space to people, and do you have a stage? Do you have an outdoor area?
Right now, so we have 2 spots. We have the bottle shop, Beyond the Bar Bottle Shop.
Right, and let's go ahead and give the street address and everything.
It's at 101 South Sherman Street in the Richardson Core District. So downtown Richardson, right off of 75.
Right.
In the heart of Richardson, maybe 10 minutes from we're actually from Dallas city line. We're like 5 minutes away.
Right.
So we're right there. So we have the bottle shop. We have about 200 SKUs and products there that you can try, taste from everything from.
Okay, so I don't want to just glaze over that. Like, what are some of the choices? Because I know when I went there was hop water, and I'm like, what the hell?
Hop water.
Yeah. So
we have Trejo tequila, which is a Trejo tequila alternative.
Yeah.
We also have.
So that's Danny Trejo,
That's
right?
Danny Trejo's cool product. I got to hang out with him about a year and a half ago. We actually introduced it. We were the first bottle shop to introduce his product into the market.
Oh, cool.
So that would have been of June of 2023.
Yeah, so there's people if they like tequila out there, there's basically unleaded tequila.
And there is, and a lot. Definitely, I would say the female side of this is driving the market. But when you have someone like Danny Trejo, who ideally is the toughest motherfucker
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's Danny Trejo.
Yeah, he has been in real prison.
He's been in real prison, and he's been sober for over 50 years. It kind of makes it a lot more cool for
a little more
gentlemen.
machismo to it. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So, Amethyst Spirits, which is they have a blueberry, it's almost like it's not a vodka, it's its own thing. I love Amethyst. I could go on about products, but I really don't want to start listing that out.
Yeah. I just kind of wanted to give the people an idea.
Sure.
Of
we have wine alternatives. We have beer alternatives. We have adaptogenic products that have ashwagandha and things that, like supplements, basically that can kind of help you feel a little bit, relax you a little bit, so you get some nice.
Sure.
We have some nice products with kava in it, which Have you tried kava? Have you had kava?
I've heard of kava, and I know that kava is supposed to be an anti-anxiety.
Sure.
And same with magnesium or whatever.
Magnesium is fantastic.
But then there's also cacao and stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's especially if you like those tannins from the cacao, like chocolate.
Yeah.
You like that chocolate buzz. You kind of get some of that feeling from that.
Right. And it's also not like an intoxicant.
Correct.
Yeah.
And when I want to clarify, when I use the word buzz, I'm talking about coffee.
Yeah.
Similar vibes like that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been really interesting. It's been 18 months we're in it. We're doing well.
Right.
Every day is a struggle to run a small business, but
Yeah.
it's fun. I feel like we're really on a mission right now, and being able to offer this and have these options for people, really selfishly for myself, but also
Right.
meeting and hearing all these stories from people.
Well, it's kind of like Rick Rubin, Rick Rubin, and it's like kind of my philosophy too. I don't make music for somebody else. I make something that I would like.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then if it resonates with somebody else, then cool. But chances are, if it's going to resonate with me, it will resonate with somebody else. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of a cool philosophy to have, because you did this because you wanted it, dude, and you wanted it, and then now you've done the research, and there's a growing movement to support this.
Absolutely. And I want to give a shout out to my wife, Julie Robinson, and our partners, Andrea and Jenny.
Oh, hold on. I gotta get the air horn, the shout out air horn.
Yeah. So it's a mom pop shop,
Yeah. Right. Right. Well, I mean, I love it. And then, so let's once again, I did have a question.
Sure.
So if somebody wanted to, like, let's say if they're remotely located, do y'all ship anything, or
we're actually working on that? We should
Okay.
have shipping. We wanted this to be an in-store experience, so we really focused on that for the
Right.
last 18 months, because we wanted people to have a place to go.
Right.
That was the important part.
Right.
There are options out there to do mail order and all that already.
Yeah.
But now that we've grown, we feel like that's kind of the next evolution and next step. So we will probably in the next month or two probably start doing.
Okay.
And we do have people who call in, and we'll ship something to them.
Right.
But it was about the in-store, about
Yeah.
having a place to go, a destination, a third
Well, and
space.
if I can say one thing on there, because I've been there, the spot in Richardson is just like the grooviest spot. Like, it's really made a complete 180 since I was a kid growing up there, and I think there was like a Brahms and maybe like a trophy shop,
Right.
But now it's kind of like a little and I don't mean Mecca in that kind of way, but
Sure.
it's a nice gathering point of like good food around the area.
yeah, international culture.
So,
We have a Chinatown.
Oh,
right
dude,
there.
Chinatown.
Yeah.
Chinatown, that area is, if we want authentic food, it's like the soup dumplings at Zhangqi.
Yes.
Or we go to Genroku, dude.
Genroku
Oh my
for
God,
sushi,
yeah.
and we have the Masami is another fantastic spot. We can go on and on about food. So
Right. But
it's-
I mean, it's all in the area.
It's all in the
So, like, if you want to go check out the bottle shop and then go eat,
Yeah.
it's a great, little day that you can make of it.
Yeah, go to offer for Middle Eastern.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I just want to say, thanks for last minute coming down,
Yeah, man, I love talking to you.
Yeah.
We've been friends for a long time, so this is fun and easy. We would
Right.
be doing this without the mics on us right
yeah,
now,
for sure.
Anyway,
For sure.
and we do.
Well,
so.
we actually go back to, was it Guitar Center or
Mars Music.
Okay, so Mars Music.
Yeah, keyboard and recording. I was a keyboard department manager.
Right.
Back a long time ago. I was a kid.
Yeah,
Mars
of course.
Music. You can touch the stuff.
Yeah, tactical,
And
where you
you're-
could play stuff.
You're talking to Kevin Keepers the other day.
Oh yeah, dude. Kevin, we, of course, would get the friends and family discount.
Yeah.
And dude, I remember, I think I had the Mackie 32.8 with the meter bridge, right? Shipped to the house.
Yeah. What about ADATs? Did you have ADATs, which is a recording
Like
system?
a DAT player?
ADAT was the Alesis. It was you put a VCR tape in there.
Oh.
And you record 8 tracks onto this VCR
No,
machine.
it was more of we had a DAT machine.
So you mastered to the DAT machine.
Well, so I would pre-master technically to the DAT machine and then take that DAT to A&R Records which in the dance community in the 90s was world famous because
Sure.
like people like, Icy, Deep Dish, everybody was getting all their stuff pressed here in Dallas and then drop shipped to New York and wherever the other various distributors were. But there was so much stuff coming out of here that you would never know how responsible this little print plant was for the music scene in the 90s.
Oaklawn Records.
Yeah, Oaklawn, and of course, Bills.
Bills.
World famous Bills, yeah. But good times. But yeah, thanks again for coming on. And then what is the website, by the way?
Website is bbevco.com.
Okay, so give that again slowly.
BBBEVCO.com.
Okay, and then they can also, what is the Instagram handle?
The Instagram handle is beyondthebar.af.
There we go. Well, beautiful. Well, I want to thank you again for coming out
Thanks, my
and
friend.
filling in, and we'll definitely have you back on because I am a champion of what you're doing.
Thanks, man.
I
You're a good
think it's
friend. I
great.
appreciate it. And I'm a champion of what you're doing.
Well, thank you, man. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is it's never too late to enjoy life.
Love that.
Yeah, that's a good. I just said that, and I was like, "That's a good name. That's a good closing line." But anyway, I appreciate you guys sticking around, watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Comment because it does help us get the word out. And then remember, kids, there is no magic pill for sobriety because if there was, we would all take too many.
That's awesome, man.
Activate.